Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Kyra and I am a recovering beauty guru. For the last 6 years, I've purchased everything I wanted and now I'm trying to rein myself in. I am using what I have, tracking what I have, and most importantly, working on my mindset. So today we're gonna look at my exhaustive eyeshadow collection. I'm going to do this all in one video. You can watch it in parts. And for those of you that are very organized in your eyeshadow palette videos and do things by brand and all of the things, I really just need to get this video done, and I'm going to just go through them however they are in my drawer, and I hope that you will all be okay. I'm going to start with either the palettes that I am panning, getting ready to pan, etc., just so that I don't forget these. So this is the Pear Nova eyeshadow palette. That is the only name that is on here, but the brand says it's created to celebrate all skin tones, which we love. And it looks like this. My daughter did get this in her Ipsy bag for me, and I'm just very thankful that she thinks of me. And we have an oldie but a goodie, the good old Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. This one's getting ready at the time that I'm filming this to roll out of my No Pan Left Behind series. So this is what she looks like. I had this pan in here already. I feel like I'm getting ever closer to hitting pan in that one, but I do really still enjoy this palette, and that was proven to me again and again through my No Pan Left Behind series. This was sent to me in PR in 2023. It's the Danessa Myricks Beauty Groundwork Defining Neutrals palette. It is a palette that is for eyes, brows, face, and lips, and she just put out a more blushy toned one. But this is what mine looks like. You get two formulas, a putty formula and a powder formula. It's very hard to see, but I did hit a little pan in here. It kind of promptly covered it. There you go. There you can see it. It kind of promptly covered itself back up as I continued to use it, but I did hit pan on that during its stay in my No Pan Left Behind. The reason I think I hit the pan in this so easily was because I did use it for my face when I was originally testing the palette. The newest baby to my eyeshadow collection here is my Makeup by Mario. This is the Master Mattes, the neutral palette, and I really am loving this so far. I have used all the shades, but I haven't used it much beyond that just because I have been kind of focusing in on my No Pan Left Behind series and just trying to move through as many of these palettes this year as I can, touch every shade. But I do keep it out right now just to have it sort of on standby if I need a shade like this. And then we have this one. This is my Natasha Denona Gold palette. This is also currently in my No Pan Left Behind series, but I've only used a few shades so far. I love this. The only real shade that I don't love in this palette is this one and maybe the shade Dijon, this matte here. I just don't like yellow toned or based eyeshadows on my very yellow complexion, but I do love this palette. And as much as I'd love to swatch favorite shades and such for you guys, hopefully you'll just appreciate a slightly shorter video than if I did swatch them all. But this is my Lime Crime Venus XL2 palette. This was gifted to me by a beautiful subscriber a couple of years ago. It had been on my wish list for a really long time. Spoiler alert, if you do follow my No Pan Left Behind, this one is going to be rolled in. It's a great palette for spring, and I just wanted to literally use every shade, which I haven't done since owning this palette. So I'm very excited about that. All right, next I thought we could briefly go over my single magnetic eyeshadow pans. These are all from Sydney Grace. They're the only ones that I kept in a big declutter that I did earlier this year. these are just a few random shades that wouldn't fit into the larger palettes, but they're absolutely beautiful. Sydney Grace formula is unlike anything else, especially in the shimmer department. These are all mostly mattes, except for I put these for stragglers in the bottom for now. I love their mattes. They're absolutely beautiful, blendable, buildable, all the things we like. These are most of my shimmers. I wish I had some way to show you how beautiful these are on camera besides watching them, but it's been fun because several of these have gotten rolled into my No Pan Left Behind series. In fact, I have 3 in this little Tarte palette right now. This is where I pull single shadows as they get rolled into No Pan Left Behind. This shade Blue Mist is actually currently in my Project 10 Uses, so I also have them there, but these 2 recently got rolled into No Pan Left Behind, and I think these 2 new shades hi Coop are gonna help me get my 10 uses on Blue Mist. So those are all of my magnetic single eyeshadows. I really do love them, and since I decluttered my palette collection, I can now fit all of these in the palette drawer. They were separate before, and I think partially why they didn't get good use, but now that they're in my eyeshadow drawer with all of my regular pre-made palettes, I'm getting more use on them for sure. All right, next let's talk about Natasha Denona, starting with my 3 mini palettes that I still have in my collection. I have the Mini Retro, which is definitely my favorite of the 3. We have Mini Zendo, which is really beautiful and unique. And then we have Mini Glam, which is just a nice neutral color story. Definitely love this. My favorite shade, if I had to, is this one called Bellatrix, I believe is what it's called. I love it. And I just love the tones in that palette. Zendo is so unique with this silver mixed with the cool, or with the warmer tones, and I love that they included a plum in here. And then this one is just a beautiful, you know, neutral color story, definitely leaning a little bit more glam to me versus like everyday, but of course you can do whatever you want with your eyeshadow. All right. Next, I have the Natasha Denona Retro Glam. This was a gift from one of my besties, Angela, who is Curly Girl Angela G here on YouTube. She is always linked in my description box. And this was a gift one year. She bought both of us one of these for our birthdays, which are only a day apart, less than 24 hours apart actually. And I couldn't be more happy with this. I love pink and green together, but I also love this inclusion of like a dusty plum or a plummy cool tone brown, however you want to look at it. Just stunning. This one I received in PR in 2023. It is the Natasha Denona My Dream palette. Mine did unfortunately come with the Blackest Black shade broken, but that's okay. I have enough black eyeshadow and it doesn't affect me being able to use the rest of the palette in any way. It hasn't continued to break since I received it, so I do really love this one. I think it's a really unique color story. There's a couple of shades in here that are really special to me in particular. I really enjoy them. So I just think this is a great color story. I've enjoyed it very much. All right, this is the Zendo palette. I love this palette. I know a lot of people didn't. I also know that it went out in subscription boxes a year or so ago as well. So a lot of people own this one. I just love it. I mean, I specifically love these 4 shades, but I also love the shade Sense, which is like a bronze with a pinky shift to it. I don't know, they're all pretty. I'm looking forward to this one eventually getting rolled into No Pan Left Behind. I also received this palette in PR in 2023. I know I am very blessed in that way, but this is the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette. And I would have 100% bought this for myself had I not received it in PR. So I definitely saved myself 70 bucks. But this is beautiful. This is probably one of my favorite Natasha Denona palettes. It's soft, it's muted, it's ethereal. It's got a lot of these like sparkly topper type shades, which is really kind of what I'm into right now in terms of lid shades and stuff, as well as like lip gloss as well. I don't know, I'm into this sheer sparkly phase, I guess. Some of the shades are similar, but I do think they're different enough that they help create a really beautiful gradient, and I just couldn't love this palette any more than I already do. Next, we have the Glam palette. I love this. This is probably one of my most used Natasha Denona palettes. I love that you have a little bit of a mixture of warm, neutral, and cool. Lots of lid shades in here, or inner corner. You've got your staple mattes that I couldn't really see why you would need anything more than that. I just love this. It's a really user-friendly and easy palette to reach for. Then we have Natasha Denona Bronze. And I love this. Again, I'm not a big fan of like super yellowy golds or even mattes, but that's, you know, a small portion of this palette. It's not that I never use them. They're just not my first choice typically. But I also really love the inclusion of these two cool tone shades. I think you get so much interest when you use both cool and warm tones on the eyes or the face. It just really draws the eye in, and so I love that Natasha does that in her palettes. If they're predominantly cool, she'll throw a couple warm shades in, or if it's predominantly warm, she'll throw something a little more cool tone in. And then just two more. As you already saw, my Natasha Denona Gold palette. This is the Natasha Denona Trio Chrome palette. It's no longer available, but mannered is it gorgeous. I love this palette. Again, really looking forward to this being rolled into No Pan Left Behind. It's such a fun color story. Definitely need to be pulling this out in just a month or so for summer, and I love it. I'm glad that I picked this one up. These three down the middle are all duochromes or trio chromes, and then the rest are matte. This is the Biba palette, and I just love the tones in here. I also love that you get several cream to powder shades in here, because that is one of my favorite formulas from her. It's kind of like watercolor eyeshadow in my opinion. I just think it's really beautiful. But I love this. You also have your three kind of staple metallics you could use on an everyday basis. So this is a great palette. All right, next I thought we can go through some little mini palettes here, and we'll start with these two. This is the e.l.f. Pumpkin Pie palette in their bite-sized eyeshadows. This is one of my favorite bronze shades in my collection, which is why I have such a big pan on it. But this was also a gift from my daughter before she really had money of her own. She picked this out for me herself, and I love it for that reason as well. This was another thing that she gifted to me from her Ipsy bag. It's the Lottie London, the Rose Golds. This is just a quad. It's a sampler of the full-size rose gold palette they have out. But these are actually really beautiful, and I love how the shimmers look on the eyes. They're kind of piecey. This is another one that my daughter gave me from her Ipsy bag. She's not currently really in a stage of eyeshadow, and so she's been passing on a lot of the palettes to me. But this is like a really cute little neutral palette with a little pop of purple here, and I definitely won't be touching the glitter, but I think this is cute. This would also be really great for travel. I'm always afraid to break my nice palettes when I travel, so. And then this is the Essence Coral Me Maybe palette. I have only kept two now of all the 6-pan palettes in this line that I have tried, only because some of them were quite redundant for other shades in my collection, but I really love this one. And I also love this one, which is Nothing Compares to Nude. To me, the two powder shades in here are pretty much useless, but I love all four of these shimmers, and it's kind of just a quick and easy eye look palette as well. All right, next, this is the M Cosmetics Divine Skies eyeshadow palette in the Magic Hour colorway. I really enjoy this formula as well as the color story. It's just really easy to reach for, especially in spring and summer. I've also traveled with this one. Love this sort of, I don't know, bronzy, rose goldy kind of shade. It's really beautiful. I did pick this up at Marshall's or Ross I believe it was Marshall's, usually is. This is the Give Beauty Icy in Color Simple Kind of Life palette. And yep, boring as can be, but I think extremely useful as well. Again, this is one that's really easy to just do kind of like a one shadow look, or do a quick crease and then put a pretty shimmer over top. This one I received in PR last year, and it is the Hamish Daylism Eye Palette. This is the Nudie Coral colorway, which I wouldn't call this any kind of coral, but I love the sparkles in this palette. This is also like a cream to powder shade, which I think they call a liner shade on the back of the palette, but I just love this. It's beautiful and I'm glad I have it. And then I have this Dior palette. This is the Backstage Eye Palette in Warm Neutrals. I'm not for sure why I got this, other than I had always wanted to try Dior eyeshadows, but I'm not huge into these orangey shades, although they do come off more brown on the eyes than orangey. But I do need to get more use out of this. This is an eye primer. It's a cream product up here in this corner, so I would love to work on that at some point, but I do like it. I'm glad I have it. And then last two little palettes here. This is the Charlotte Tilbury, the Super Nudes palette, one of my favorite palettes in my collection, and absolutely my favorite for travel. I have traveled with this several times. I just love it. They're all satin shadows in here, so you do get a little bit of a sheen to the eye, but they can also be used in the crease and transition as well. So you can kind of use them, any of them, anywhere, and I love that. And then this one is new to my collection. It was a gift from my girl Angela. Again, this is the Luxury Eye Palette in the Uptown Girl. And I've always wanted this one and never purchased it, but look how pretty it is. I just love everything about this little palette, and I'm so glad to have it. And since we talked about Charlotte Tilbury last, let's go ahead and just talk about my other three palettes from her. This is the holiday palette called Smoky Eyes Are Forever. I think this was 2022, but I couldn't swear to it. But I love the formulas in here. I feel like her formulas have gotten better each and every year that I've purchased these. I'm no longer purchasing these, but I do love the ones I have. This is Bejeweled Eyes to Hypnotize. Also really like this color story. I specifically love this trio of brownie bronzes, but the purples are beautiful. I love this palette. The only one I don't really get much use out of is this red shade, but I'll take it. And then this was my very first one. This is this is Starry Eyes to Hypnotize. I can definitely tell like what a long way her palettes and her formulas have come, with this being the first one I got, but I still love this. It's still a great formula. Love these greens here together. Absolutely stunning. This is the Kylie Cosmetics, the matte palette. I think that's all it's called, but I purchased this because I really liked the tones in here, and I'm actually really happy that I made that decision. Love the shade Cedar right here and the shade Nude, but they're all beautiful. They blend easily. I just kept seeing this on TikTok and I'm like, dang, those are just so beautiful, such beautiful mattes. So I did pick that one up and I enjoy it. We already talked about the other Master Mattes by Mario, but this is the original with the more warm tone shades in here. I do enjoy this, but I think I will get more use out of the second one. Love my Ethereal Eyes palette, however. This was from the original launch, and I used this like non-stop in 2023. And I love it. I did hit my first pan in here earlier this year in a project, but I love this. I love the mattes, love the sparkles. This is just a really easy palette for me to reach for. Oh, saddens me to see that this is going to have to be replaced very soon, in fact, because this is 12 months old, and I believe when I was watching back some of my old videos, I got this in like 2018, so I don't know. But I love it so much, and I don't want to let it go. I'm surprised I only have one pan in here, though I think I could easily hit some other pans. But I just love the formula. This shade Bombshell is one of my favorite shades in my entire collection. Also love Seduction, obviously. Love the inclusion of a plum and a plummy brown shimmer. This has everything I need for daily looks, and I love it. And that's the old packaging before they put it in plastic packaging. And then this is my one and only pre-made Sydney Grace eyeshadow palette. This is the Endearing Love palette, and I have the light version. They do make a light and dark version of a lot of their palettes, if not all of them. But I love this. There's just so much goodness. Like, there is no better formula than the Sydney Grace Shimmer formula. I'm going to do these out of order. They just are how they are. This is the ABH Norvina Collection Volume 3 palette. Oh, good. I got it all in frame. Look at that. I love these palettes. This is a very different formula than those in the 14 pan oblong ABH palettes. And these are pressed pigments, so you do have to be careful. And if you are sensitive, I don't even know why I'm saying that, because I don't even know that you can get any of these still. But I do love the ones that I have kept. I did get rid of one, which was the volume 2. This was the first one in the collection, and definitely the one that I've gotten the most use out of. I absolutely adore this peach shimmer right here. In fact, until now I had kind of forgotten about it, so I'm gonna need to use this soon. Also obsessed with this lavender up here, and the most pigmented white matte eyeshadow you will ever see. Absolutely gorgeous. Although I will say I'm semi-terrified about getting one of these in No Pan Left Behind, but that's okay. That's what the project is all about. This one unfortunately has 2 pressed glitters in it, and they are not the kind of glitters that I will put on my eyes. There's no suspension to it or anything. Like, it's literally kind of like loose craft glitter. This is volume 4. I actually love this one. It's a little bit more approachable, a little bit more everyday, everyday, couldn't see my air quotes, if you will, and it has some neutrals in here, but these are just beautiful palettes. I just cannot complain. This is Soft Glam, of course. I do have 2 pans in here, which we love to see, and I do love this palette. I think it's a great palette. I definitely could get more use out of it than I do, but, you know, like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm a recovering beauty guru. We're not quite there yet. Then I also have my Sultry palette. This has already been in my No Pan Left Behind this year, and I was able to organically hit pan on Twig here. There, you can see it, I think. Just, you know, by way of using this for the project, I did manage to hit a little pan on Twig, which I was excited about. And I do like this one. I do forget to reach for it though, so I'm glad it had gotten rolled in at the beginning of the year. Another one of my favorites from ABH is the Norvina palette. I do have 3 pans in here. You should be able to see those all pretty easily. I would love to hit more pans in here. I do really enjoy this palette a lot, and that's about it. I just love the unique color story. Feels very true to my soul. And lastly, the Carly Bible palette. I feel like this one really got a bad rap, even if for no other reason than the packaging, that people didn't like the holes or whatever. But I love this palette. This is a beautiful palette. I pretty much get use out of every shade in here except for Stev. But other than that, I love this palette, and I need to pull this one in for spring as well. All right, we're a little bit more than halfway through. This was a set that I got from Tarte. They both came together. This is the Gilded palette, which is the more warmer toned one. This is a similar formula to what some of you might have received if you got any of the Maneater palettes or things like that. This is their newer formula, and I actually quite enjoy it. I don't get as much use out of this one as I do the next one, but I love them both. Actually, really glad to have them, and actually you can still get them on the Tarte website. I have them linked in my Venable storefront, I believe. Either way, this is the Glamour palette. It has a little bit more neutral to cool for the most part. I just really enjoy this one. Love this matte shade Deco, which looks like nothing exciting, and it really isn't, but it's just a good shade. It's a great transition shade for me. So I love that one. Two of my oldest palettes in my collection. This one I worked on panning one year. It's my Lorac Mega Pro 2 palette. And you're gonna say that I did hit some pans in here, but not even close to all of them. But it was a fun project, and it was fun for me to really see just how long it takes to hit pan on eyeshadows. This was years ago, you know, at this point. But it was, you know, these are small pans. They're a little deep, but they're small. And it really took quite a bit to hit pan on some of these. So, but I still have it. And then let me know if any of you guys still have this, still use this. But it's the Makeup Revolution, the Emily Edit the Once palette. Emily is my all-time favorite YouTuber, and so it was a no-brainer when this came out. I wish I still had the Needs palette because I do miss the face shades in there, but I mostly keep this for nostalgia. But the shadows are still good in here. I mean, they really are. So I have it in my inventory and on my wheel, and we'll see. Maybe it'll get rolled into no pan this year. All right, another oldie in my collection is the Tarte Clay Play Volume 1 palette. I did work on hitting pan in a few of these at some point. I think I was like trying to hit 3 pans in certain palettes and then roll them out. So I did end up hitting 3 pans in here. And I really like the formulas in here. The only one I don't get a lot of use out of is this one, and really honestly mostly because I forget to use it on my eyes. But I do love these two face shades, and they would possibly be potentially be like depotted out of here and put in other packaging just so I would remember to use them and they could reside in my bronzer drawer. But nonetheless, there it is. Here's an oldie but a goodie. The ABH Moonchild. Now, yes, this is a highlighter palette, but I do not use it as a highlighter palette. This was a gift from my girl Angela as well, and I just love this. So, so beautiful. I love using these as eyeshadows, which is really the only way that I get use out of them, which is why they live in this inventory and in my eyeshadow drawer. We have the Desert Lights palette from Flower Beauty. These are really great. Yes, it is an all shimmer palette, but it is a beautiful one, and Lord knows I have enough mattes in every other palette in my collection that one palette with only shimmers is not going to kill me. And I do reach for this for specific shimmers from time to time. They're just absolutely stunning. If you've never seen these palettes before, they do have 4 colorways now. So you can check these out on Ulta Beauty, but they are a beautiful formula. And these are my last 3 remaining Colourpop palettes. I've just come to like experience from Colourpop, and you can let me know if you feel the same way or differently. Either way is fine. But I feel like they don't age very well. So I don't know how many more palettes I would buy from Colourpop in the future, but I love all 3 of these and they're not going anywhere. We of course have Going Coconuts. Such a beautiful palette. One of my favorite lid shades in my collection, and just a really great roundup of everyday type of shades. That's Taupe is my cool toned dream. I love taupe eyeshadow, even though I have a warm toned complexion. This is absolutely stunning. And as you can see, you know, it has a little bit of rosiness, a little bit of green, and just, you know, everything in between. Love these shadows, absolutely beautiful. And again, you know, not going anywhere anytime soon. One of my favorite spring eyeshadow palettes is the Blush Crush. And I just find this to be such an interesting and unique color story in my collection. I love the addition of these sort of dark orchidy purples. You've got warm pink, you've kind of got dusty. I love the 3 shimmers in here. This is just a stunning palette and I love it very much. All right, guys, we're getting there. We're getting there. All right, let's do my other 2 Too Faced palettes. So you saw the Sweet Peach at the beginning. This was a gift from my girl Angela. I think she inherited it as well. It's the Sparkling Pineapple Eyeshadow Palette. First of all, this smells amazing. It smells like butter bronzer. But then you have these beautiful shades. This is a duochrome, kind of has a warm brown base with a green shift, which hopefully you can see. This is pretty much a cream shadow and it is so beautiful. The only shade I probably won't get a lot of use out of is that center shade, but I love this palette and I can't help but smell it every time I use it. And then I bought this, I think in 2023 or it was 2022, but I do really enjoy this palette. It's the Born This Way, the Natural Nudes. There are a couple other palettes in this range, and then they just put out some mini palettes like this as well. This is a new formula for me from Too Faced. Love the mattes. The shimmers are hit or miss. Some of them are more sparkly, some of them are more smooth. Again, probably not gonna get a ton of use out of Golden Light myself, but I do love these shades. This is a nice, easy palette to reach for on an everyday basis for sure. A couple here from BH Cosmetics and then a few from Juvia's place. But this is the Blueberry Muffin palette. It's predominantly blue tones, but you have a little bit of purple in there and some peach and brown. Love this. It has some really beautiful lid shades in here. I'm not a huge blue eyeshadow person, but I don't mind blue eyeshadow. I think it's kind of striking on me because I have brown eyes, but I really enjoy that palette. And then the Avocado Toast palette. If I remember, I'll link it down below, but I did a 1 month, 1 palette with the Avocado Toast palette. As you can see, I didn't manage to hit any pans in a month, which wasn't the goal at all. I just wanted to see how versatile it is. And I also want to say, like, if you use a 1 palette for an entire month, you really get to know that palette. This is a beautiful palette. I like every single shade in it. There's nothing that I wouldn't use. And for that reason, it's, you know, one of my favorites. And then I have 3 remaining Juvia's Place palettes. These are just huge palettes and huge shadows. This is the Tribe palette. It's not available anymore, but I recently got this from Angela and I'm thrilled. I haven't got the opportunity to use it yet, but I can't wait until I do. This shade is just stunning to me. I'm excited. I'm really pumped for this eyeshadow palette. And it was such a thoughtful gift. She'd known that I'd had this on my wish list for years. And of course it's no longer available. So when she was ready to part with it, it came my way. My favorite palette by Juvia's Place, and the one I've had the longest, is the Deuce. And I love this for a bunch of reasons. Mostly, however, I love that I can use these three really as blush, and I have very frequently. You have a beautiful duochrome pink shade. I love the mint green. Like, there's so much to be done with this palette. I just can't even tell you. So I'm glad to have it. Unfortunately, it's no longer available, but this one is. This is the Magic Mini. They used to have one of these that was even bigger in Mylanta. I can't even imagine. But I love this. This is one of my go-to palettes for fun shimmers because, oh man, there are some good ones in here. And looking forward to this being rolled into a project at some point. I love all of my eyeshadow. I'm just not always the best at getting around to using all of them. All right, guys, only 8 palettes left. We can do it. We can do it. All right, a couple last one-off brands here. This is my last remaining Urban Decay palette. This is the Ultraviolet. I don't have a lot of purple in my life, but I do love this. And it does look, again, striking on my eye shade, which is brown. I just love the mixture in here. It's not all purple, it's like half purple, but then you have some staple neutrals and this really fun brightening duochrome shade. So I actually do love and use that. Then my one and only Pat McGrath palette. I went all the way back to the beginning when I picked this one out because this was her very first Mothership palette, the Subliminal palette. That's sorry, it took me a second for the brain to catch up, but I love this. I love the special shades here. This is a beautiful gold, even though I'm not hugely into gold. This is a very unique kind of finish. And then you have some great staple neutrals over here. I actually do get a fair amount of use out of this. And, you know, I look forward to using it more and more as I get into the future. Let's do the Patrick Ta palettes next. This is Major Dimension 1. And I love this palette, as you'll be able to see. This one was just in my No Pan Left Behind recently, and I had no problem using these. In fact, I'm getting very close to hitting pan in the shade called Transition, so I love this palette. I use it quite a bit. And then this is Major Dimension 2, which is the rose toned palette. And I love this. I specifically love the creams and the powders. I love the shimmers too. It's just a little tricky. I wish I had something slightly brightening, maybe more brightening in this palette, but I just love this palette regardless. Then we have Major Dimension 3, which of course is the all matte version. And, you know, I've gotten some good use on this so far, but not, you know, great use on it. And yeah, I love the formulas in this. I love both of these transition shades. They're gorgeous. We have my 3 Huda Beauty palettes. This is Mercury Retrograde. Lots of people have worked on panning this one, which I think is really cool. I did already No Pan Left Behind this one this year, and it really got me more excited about this palette again, which was great. This is the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. One of my favorite palettes in my entire collection. There are just so many unique shades in here and duochromes. I also really like the selection of mattes that she has in this palette, so I love that one. And then this was one of like 2 or 3, I believe it was 2 eyeshadow palettes that I bought in 2023. This is the Pretty Grunge palette, and it is stunning. I absolutely love this, love the matte shades, love the shimmer shades. I wouldn't change anything about this other than maybe this black eye gloss. I just don't think most people are going to use that, but that is, you know, par for the course. She's been doing that for a few years now, where she'll stick in kind of a weird, like this one is a gel with the little balls in it or whatever. And that's it. That is my entire eyeshadow collection, other than like little potted singles and stuff, which I don't know. Let me know if you want to see those like in a short or a shorter video, and I might do that. But this is all I have in me for today. I hope you guys enjoyed my eyeshadow palette collection. I will, of course, have some numbers up on the screen for you, including how many palettes, how many pans. I hope all of your makeup days are absolutely beautiful makeup days, and I will see you in my next video very soon. It's going to be very exciting over the next few weeks. I have a couple of big videos planned, so stay tuned, subscribe, do all the things, and I'll see you guys in the next one.